3, 2, 1.
And
welcome, everybody, to Wino Wednesday. I'm Gina.
I'm Robbie G.
And we are here tonight to drink Cava. Even though it's Cinco de Mayo.
Cava.
Cava. I thought we should have maybe done like micheladas or something.
Ooh.
But, c'est la vie, next year.
Tecate.
Tecate, something like that. Instead, we are going to do the lovely Spanish Cava tonight, and I am so ready for this, Rob.
Has it been one of those days?
It's been one of those days,
It's
right?
been one of those hours.
Yeah. So, welcome everybody. For those of you that are regulars, you know the drill. Well, but those of you that are not for the first time, feel free to send your questions via chat on the YouTube account if you have one. If you don't, hopefully we will answer all your questions.
Welcome.
What else is need to know?
Nothing. Nothing. Just
how to
chat us questions. We'll try to get to everything. We'll walk you through all the cheeses on the plate and the wine in front of you.
Yeah.
Gina, this wine does not feel cold.
Shush. Why would that be?
We had a kind of a comedy of errors trying to get this thing set up tonight. It's a miracle that we are here and set up on time. We'll just say that. But so yeah, please ask us questions and get ready so you can send us any comments or whatever you want. Cheese jokes.
As we go. Welcome everyone. But I'm going to get started, Rob, even with my non-chilled cava, because there's two things I want to tell as we open this Spanish delight. Did you know that a cava, do you know how many twists it's supposed to take to open the basket of a cava top?
No, okay. Mm-hmm. You're telling me that they're all the same amount of twists?
I'm dead serious, apparently, in the world of cavas. Mm-hmm.
No, I don't.
No, me neither. It's supposed to be 6. Well, I mean, I know, but let's see if it is. 6. It's supposed to be 6 turns. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It was to get the basket off of the top so that we can open this little bad boy. Now, my glasses aren't on. Do you see these markings on there? Does that look like a little cross or something? Can you tell?
I can't really tell. It doesn't really look like a cross.
A cross? I don't know. It's supposed to be like a 4-point star or something.
Okay, I can see that.
That should be stamped on every top of a cava bottle. Okay. So that's kind of interesting
and
to me.
And then it says J and D. Are those initials?
I wonder if that's from this Valor Cava J and D. So I'm not sure on the J and D. We're going to find out, though. Casa de Valor. Anyway, here we go. Are we You're scared that was in my face. And it's warm on top of it. I don't know if warm makes it even worse, but I'm going to be very, very careful. Remember the time I almost burnt the house down with the spark? Are you kidding me? Are you really kidding me? Pardon me. Rob,
Let's get a napkin. So we've got some cava dripping off the table here. Her notes are soaked. I think the important thing is the computer. We'll start with that.
You get that, I'll get this. Oh my God, everybody.
That's probably because I was running from the car with this.
Oh, yeah, shaking it up. Oh my gosh. Hi, Kristen. Our first commenter of the day.
Well, happy Cinco de Mayo, everyone.
This will go down in the history books as the best. I didn't open that one bottle right one time. Then this.
Well,
then
this rack smells
the fire. Rob, I think you should be in charge of all of this stuff moving forward.
It was just one of those days, but here we are, and you've got a good amount of cava left in there to drink, but we did lose a little bit.
We did.
Hopefully you at home did not lose too much cava.
Oh my gosh, I hope not, because that is a shame, a crying shame. If I start wringing out the towel, I might in a minute. You'll know why. Okay, I think we're going to be making it.
And so because our cava is not chilled, you came up with a little cocktail situation.
I did.
Is that correct?
Because I learned,
a little mule, I see.
I got 2 things going, Rob. 2 good things with this cava. So first, because I've got a little bit of ice, because Rob did warn me that the cava might not be too chilled. Thank you, partner. You can make a Moscow Mule version of it using cava. So that's kind of fun. So I'm going to give it a try while we are sitting here, and I definitely need it. So I'm not sure how much, but I'm going to do that much. And just a little ginger beer. And then I'll have my version of mule. And I have a lime in here already. Cool. So to give it that mule type of experience. And cheers to you.
Cheers.
So, and then I'll get to the straight cava, but let me down this really quick.
Happy Cinco de Mayo. I didn't realize it was Cinco de Mayo until you just said something.
Yeah.
I know yesterday was Star Wars Day.
It was?
Yeah, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you.
Oh, I need more.
I thought you were a nerd. Come on.
I'm a nerd, and I'm a wet nerd. Okay. Oh, we digress. All right, cava. Tell us, why is it not called Spanish champagne?
Well, it originally was called Spanish champagne, so for those of you who, and I guess this requires a little bit of an explanation about champagne. So champagne is kind of the benchmark. It is the French sparkling wine that comes from a region called Champagne. And Champagne there's a couple things that really define Champagne. One is that it has to come from that little region. It's not that small, but it's a region. And it's made with one of or a mixture of 3 grapes. The 2 most popular grapes are, do you want to guess?
Okay, I'm going to guess. Chardonnay.
Yep, that's one.
Pinot Noir.
Yes, that's 2. The third one is called Pinot Meunier. It's also called the Black Riesling, but it's a lot darker than Pinot Noir. Okay. So it's usually a blend of those 3. Sometimes it could just be Chard, it could just be Pinot. It's usually not just Pinot Meunier. But those are the 3 grapes. Okay. And so then, in addition to being from Champagne and being made with a blend of those grapes, the other defining characteristic is what's called the Champagne method. Or method champenois.
Champenois. Oh, you said it better. Champenois.
My French is terrible. But the method champenois is it's basically it's a process, and it's like a 7-step process, kind of like the cheese making steps is like a 7-step process. But it's basically fermentation. You handpick the grapes, you ferment them, and then where it gets unique is that for the secondary fermentation on champagne, it happens in the bottle.
In the bottle, as does cava.
As does cava.
Because it follows the method.
It follows the method, but that's where it's a little bit different. So like for other sparkling wines, the secondary fermentation, it's basically like when it ferments again, it goes from being still to bubbly.
Oh, interesting. Yep.
And so they make that happen in the permanent bottle, and it makes so that all this gunk goes to the bottom of the bottle. Yeah.
I'm sure that's the proper term.
So when the secondary fermentation happens and it becomes bubbly, basically like the yeast eats the sugar and it kind of poops out this gunk or sediment, for lack of a better term. And in the bottle, all of that gunk will be on the bottom, but they will riddle the bottles during the aging process. And so they'll kind of rotate them every couple days until all of the gunk gets into the neck of the bottle. Yes. Then they'll freeze the neck of the bottle, and they will shoot out all that gunk, and then they'll top it off with like the finishing amount of wine, which will determine if it's sweet or dry, or if it's red, or if it stays white. So that's how they kind of finish it. But it all happens in the bottle, and then they put on the permanent cap, twist it 6 times.
6 times.
And you've got champagne. So for cava, there was a gentleman who was Spanish, and he went to Champagne, learned the Champagne method, came back to a region called Catalonia, which is where Barcelona is.
Yep, so that's in you're thinking geography-wise, it's the northeast kind of quadrant of Spain.
Northeast, so just north is the Pyrenees in France, the border with France. But so east, I think west of the city of Barcelona, because Barcelona is almost on the Mediterranean. So if you go west, you hit this wine country called the Pyrenees.
Pyrenees.
That's their wine region.
That's their big region. Yeah.
So the difference between Champagne and cava is that the terroir of the Pyrenees is different than the terroir or the earth of Champagne, which is that really chalky limestone-y.
Yeah, it's completely different terrain.
Different terrain, and then the grapes are different. And I don't recall off the top of my head what all the grapes are, but do you know?
I cannot pronounce any of these grapes. So they're indigenous to that region. Yeah. These are grapes that I've never had heard of, but are true to cava. So one is Xarello, Zarello maybe, Macabeo, and then Paralada. So 3 random grapes that I'm sure I'm butchering the names, but really almost only found there in the region. So that makes cava really special.
And unique to that place. But the Champagne method, they actually use the Champagne method, but just in Catalonia.
Yes. and they have to call it then cava because they got in trouble for using Spanish champagne because it is not champagne from Champagne. So it's all that, it's craziness. But in essence, bubbles.
and originally they did call it Champagne. But now it's called cava, and the word cava comes from the Spanish word for cave.
Yes, cave, cellar, yeah.
Cellar,
because it's
cave.
Kept in the cellars, in the caves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
so
super cool.
First cava was produced in 1872.
What? That kind of seems recent.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would have thought it was older. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean maybe that's just the official. But they also they came up with this really, really clever invention called the gyro palette. And so when I was talking about when they age champagne, if anyone's been to Champagne or you've seen the process, they make a big deal about where they do something called riddling. Mm-hmm. And there's even guys who are called riddlers. Kind of like
I did love that. Do they dress up like the Riddler?
Exactly. So they have riddlers, and these guys, their job is to go into these caves where they age the champagne. Yeah. And in the region of Champagne, they dug out these caves to take the limestone out to build these beautiful cities.
Yeah, it's
and so cool. They're left with what are called crayères, where they would age the wine. And so these guys would ride their bikes in these like crayères underground, these riddlers, cool. And they would tip every bottle just so much.
Just that quarter.
Every couple days.
Yeah, so crazy. That's so cool.
Which is really cool. They can riddle thousands of bottles, a day. And so in Spain, they came up with a gyro palette, which is this kind of like A-frame rack where they put all the bottles on, and they can just tip.
Like they tip the whole rack or something?
Once. Yeah.
Ah, interesting.
So they got smarter than the bottles.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, awesome. Sounds good. Well, I like it. I can tell you, it works good into the mule. Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you that. It's light. I mean, I taste mostly ginger. So now, warm or not, I'm going to go two ways, Rob, with this. I'm going to go traditional, just in the glass. And I'm going to do 2 glasses, a stemless and a stemmed, to see which one I like better. But look at all those bubbles.
Wow.
And they're nice and tiny. This one is known, this Valor white maker, of making the tiny bubbles. And look at how tiny they are.
Yeah.
I heard tiny bubbles, tiny headache.
Tiny bubbles.
In the wine. So these are tiny, tiny bubbles, so hopefully I will not get a headache after all this. But I want to see.
But flavor profile, it says it's more lemony, earthy, and citrusy, which is exactly what you said.
Exactly what it is, which then I think lends itself, who doesn't like citrus or lemon with anything? Yeah. Any food, right? I mean, you can have lemon chicken, you can have lemon in your Thai, you can have lemon in your cheese, which we must talk about very quickly because I'm starving. But it lends itself to go with so many things. And like you said, yeah, you could just crack a bottle and not feel bad, like that you're wasting like a $40 bottle of champagne, where you just want to sip and savor that glass on its own. This one is just winding down after a crazy day. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
we should tell you about the cheeses, and I hope you've gotten into them already, but we'll tell you what's what on the plate.
Okay, look at the oozy running. Okay, that's a beautiful. Take that off.
There's a blackberry on this piece. So this Brie-looking deal in the middle is the Kunik.
Oh my gosh.
So that's a triple cream. That'll be the one we start with, and I'll get back to that in 1 second. But
You're
that's
stealing that whole piece.
Hey, you got a piece.
Oh, okay, yay.
So that's the Kunik. The second cheese is going to be the Casatica di Bufala, and that one is still kind of white. It's got that white brie-looking rind on it, which is going to be edible. And it's this piece is already sweating, which is a good thing. Yes. That's the Casatica di Bufala. So it's a rectangular shape.
And you will tell why it's sweating.
Yeah.
When we get there. Mm-hmm.
The third cheese is going to be this triangle, also sweating. And this is called the Pyrenees Brebby. And the name really says everything. If anybody knows those words, you know a lot about this cheese already. The fourth cheese is the Hooks Triple Play. And that is this one that is chunked up on your boards. You have 4 or 5 little pieces of it. And that is going to be the fourth one we're going to taste today.
I can't wait to get in there.
So here, Gina, take. Shut up.
Shut up.
Just get on with it.
And by the way, Carol thinks it's all your fault. this.
It is totally my fault,
and
Carol.
Christine, remember our wonderful. Okay, that's beautiful too, Rob. You're wow, definitely have you.
Wait, not Christine in Florida.
Huh?
Christine, are you out there?
She's out there.
Hi, Christine.
I'm sure she thinks it's your fault too.
It was totally my fault.
Just saying.
There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt. I take all responsibility.
Nothing changes, Christine. Nothing changes.
Christine knows when in doubt, blame Rob.
No, but this is good. This Kunik, oh my gosh, Rob, it's so creamy. It reminds me, it looks like a Brie au Savarin, which we've had with our champagne, triple cream Brie.
So yes, it is triple cream. This is from upstate New York. This is really unique for a couple reasons. One is that it's a blend, so it's not fully cow's milk. It's 25% Jersey cow milk, 75% goat's milk. So Jersey cows are a little bit smaller. They give a little bit less milk, but really high fat, so really full flavor.
Yeah.
And then the goat's milk gives it that tang and kind of sour.
Oh my gosh, but
goatiness.
it's most of the goat milk Bries that we've had aren't as creamy and runny like this one. So that Jersey milk, this is so good. This is the perfect texture.
Christine, right? I hope you're able to find some Kunik locally.
She even says hi to you with X's and O's.
Aww.
Just saying.
Aww. And say hi to Tom too. This is fantastic right now. It's really salty, but I like it. It's not, to me, it's not too salty. The rind is edible on these. You've probably heard us say this a million times. They're meant to be eaten. If you don't like it, don't eat it. Triple creams they're not naturally this buttery and rich. The cheesemaker will add some extra cream to the mix, to the vat. So once they get
wrong with that.
No, once they get the curd to form, which are the solids, they'll scoop in some extra cream because it won't get to this texture naturally. It'll be more like the Casatica, and you can kind of see your Kassatika. That's more of a natural texture.
Oh my gosh. So you gave me that beautiful piece with the dangling blueberry, but it's so good on here.
All right, let's move on.
We totally digress, but Kristen thinks it's delicious. Everyone thinks it's delicious. Carol, everyone, delicious. I agree. Try it, you guys, with the blueberry or the blackberry. You've got a blackberry there. Try it with that. I love the metallic taste. I want to say slightly metallic of the rind on this. Minerally, I guess is the word. Stony. I don't know.
I feel like blue cheeses, which we don't have a blue on the plate today, they get described sometimes as being metallic as well. And there's something, it's like limestoney. Sometimes I've heard it also called like river stone, like a river stone. You get that in wine as well. Or like iron, like irony, almost like if you bite your tongue and you get like blood in your mouth.
Which I love. Like I don't want to bite my tongue, but the blood, I mean, I don't know. I don't mind that irony.
Irony, right?
Like liver has it.
Yeah,
I
it
like
does.
That mineral quality, right?
And the thing about liver or that ironiness is like just it's rich, and so like a little bit goes a long way. Like I can only have a couple bites of liver.
And then you're done.
Yeah.
With the glass.
I'm not like Hannibal. I'm not like Hannibal Lecter. No. I knew you were gonna say that.
Carol liked it with the jam.
Oh yeah.
Excellent choice. And I like it with the berries.
What kind of jam is this?
I love it with this. And I can't. Oh my gosh! Again, it's been one of those days I didn't ask, and I feel bad. It looks like it has peel in it.
So
like
this,
a peel,
like
an
a zest.
peel or a zest. Try it. Mystery jam. It's so good with wine. You know why? Because this cava is lemony, and goat milks tend to go so good with the lemony cheeses. Yeah. So this is a great match.
So this is the Meyer lemon.
Yeah.
With a zest. I can taste the zest, and I think it's pear.
Oh, that's right. Meyer lemon pear. We do have that, and that's delicious stuff.
And it's from Earth and Vine, and I believe they're in Northern California.
They are Roseville, outside of Sacramento.
So this is a really, really good one, and it's probably complementary to the lemony notes in the wine as well.
Super, super good.
And what's fun about pairing with a cheese like this is since it is salty and metallic and really buttery and rich. Yeah. It just begs for something contrasting, and so that's what any of the sweet things are going to do. And then we also talk sometimes about textural pairing, and that's where a wine like this with bubbles has a distinct advantage over still wines, and specifically with cheeses like this. Like a
100%,
lot of cheeses are mouth coating, but this is especially mouth coating.
Yeah, you need something that's scrubby bubbles. I say it every time. Yeah. You get that creamy cheese on the tongue. you need the bubbles to scrub away, and it's heaven together. I mean, honestly, and you could do this appetizer or dessert. I would do it either. I would do it both.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, personally.
Well, you can make like 3 different drinks.
I can, and I'm going to keep going with all of these. I'm going to be so happy. Ooh, you stole some of this. What happened?
We don't know what happened. We're not going to talk about that. Whose fault was it? We know that. So this cheese. The cheesemaker is called Nettle Meadow Farm.
What a great name.
From upstate. They are just a small farm. They pay for the whole operation with their cheese sales, so it's cool that we're able to support that.
Yeah.
But they're in the southern Adirondacks, which I believe is, you know what, I'm not even sure, but I'm guessing that is upstate and maybe the Hudson Valley. Do you know that?
I don't know them on the map.
But
that's where most of them tend to be.
I was going to say, all of the cheeses that we do get from New York are and most of them are from upstate, are from the same little area. So maybe somebody out there does know, but we're guessing it's upstate, Hudson Valley, but it says Southern Adirondacks.
Yeah, super, super good.
And I don't know what the word Kunik means. I don't know if that's a town.
You know what? No, it was give me 1 second. Keep talking. Try it with I bet you it's super good with the dried kiwi.
Ooh. We'll try it with the dried kiwi.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. But I love that. Triple creams, double creams, any brie with the bubbles. Again, I'm gonna go to. In the Spanish world though, think of what is a creamy Spanish cheese. Not so much. I always think of them. The manchegos. Yeah. That the Portuguese, of course, we know there's lots of the creamies.
Yeah.
But I don't in the Spanish world.
I will say this about Spanish cheeses they're kind of what's the word? Homogeneous, is that the word? Where they're very
homogeneous.
Homogeneous. They're very similar. A lot of them. There's a lot of them that are very similar to manchego. They're aged, sheep's milk, kind of that gritty texture. But they do produce several goat's milk cheeses. And a lot of their goat's milk cheeses are softer and like kind of tangier. And they're from a region south of Catalonia called Murcia.
Yes.
So like Cana de Cabra and...
yes, Navat. Do you remember Navat was beautiful cheese? We haven't had that for a while.
Yeah. There's a cheese from this region called Garrocha, which is one we actually usually have, but it's a little bit firmer. It's not quite soft. It's goat's milk. But they do have some soft goat's milk cheeses. Most of the Spanish cheeses are sheep or goat's milk, and that's just because it's not a place where cows are super happy. Like
it's too arid, it's too dry there. The sheep and the goats like that better.
The few areas where they do have cow's milk cheeses are in the north. And I can't remember all the regions, but like the Basque region, there's a few.
Yeah.
There's a region, Galicia.
I was going to say Galicia, that kind of upper.
It's north of Portugal, so they have a number of cow's milk cheeses, and then they call this like little area Green Spain, which is just on the Bay of Biscay, on the southern side of the bay.
And that's what the cows need. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you'll see some cow's milk cheeses there, but when you get into the interior of the country, and then especially like on the east side, which is the Mediterranean, then it's goat and sheep's milk almost exclusively.
Yes, exactly. So many of them, which we don't have here. It's so interesting. Goat, right. More goat, obviously. Yeah. But so rare to find sheep here.
Don't find a lot.
Not at all.
At all.
But so good. So that's a fun, decadent goat and cow milk brie. Yeah. You could call it, right? I mean, it's just so good.
Goat and cow milk.
Are you gonna eat that?
No, that's yours. I got all this. I just smudged it on my lid.
It's a beautiful presentation again. I can't even just begin to describe the presentation.
We're just going with the flow, Gina.
I don't know what you're going with.
if you're wondering the really traditional classic pairing with this, it is a brie or brie style, a triple cream.
And a strawberry.
Yeah. And chocolate.
Who doesn't want strawberry with bubbles and chocolates? I see that now. I should eat it now. I was going to save it for dessert, but...
I'm saving mine.
Okay.
Is that a chocolate cherry?
We'll find out.
Oh, we'll find out. I hope I didn't ruin anything. All right, so we should talk about the next... Is there any questions yet?
We should. No, everyone is loving the Kunik with the jam, like I said, with the berries. Yeah.
Does everybody eat the rind? I'm just curious.
Oh, yeah. Is there anyone that doesn't?
And if you don't, that's totally fine.
It's totally cool.
Yeah, we're in a no judge zone.
Yeah. Here. I would love, I've heard that in France, even there, people cut away the rind. But then I've heard the opposite, that is considered rude. I never have because I like the rinds.
I just go back to this my thought that if you don't like it, don't eat it. Like it's not
anything
rude. Yeah, anything. Like if you don't like it, don't eat it.
It's not your bag.
Yeah.
It's not your bag, baby.
That Austin Powers.
It is.
The the next cheese going in order here is the Casatica di Bufala, and it's not Kassatika di Bufula. It is Casatica di Bufala. So there's the first thing. Get the accent right. Oh,
because I've said it for years the other way.
Me too. Me too. So this is a really interesting texture. I don't know how I would describe it.
Would you say spongy?
Spongy.
I would say sometimes can you go like this and does it sponge your back?
Doesn't a little bit.
A little bit. Springy.
Yeah. Springy, spongy. This is a really unique one. We've already done goat and cow's milk on the first cheese. This one is 100% water buffalo, and it's unique because it's water buffalo, but it is not mozzarella. Because most water buffalo milk cheeses are mozzarella, and they come from a region in southern Italy called Campania. This is from a region in northern Italy called Lombardy, and it's from a region within Lombardy called Bergamo, which is pretty well known for producing great cheeses. A cheese that is from there that the Italians aren't really known for making washed rind or stinky cheeses, but there's a cheese from there called Taleggio, which is really the Italian washed rind or kind of stinky cheese.
Yeah, that's the most famous. It's got to be.
And this is basically a Taleggio, but made with buffalo milk. It's based on Taleggio.
Taleggio, and it also comes in a square. Most cheeses come in a round form, but Taleggio and the Kassatika Debuffula come in the square shape, which is unique as well.
It is unique.
And to get buffalo milk, it is super rare. But you can just explain why it is sweating.
Well, we let them sit out, and
all day, right? I mean, it's best.
Yeah, so they like to sit out. They're best at room temp. That will bring out the aroma. It'll bring it. They will sweat, and so it brings like the oil to the surface, and it really brings out the flavor. So because it's buffalo milk, buffalo and sheep's milk are the fattiest of any of the milk types, and so they're going to have like this kind of oil that comes out, and it does come to the surface when you let it sit out, and so that's what you're seeing there.
The oil's kind of just seeping out. Some people say it's weeping, but that's so sad. Nobody wants a weeping cheese. Sweating feels like you're working out or something. I don't know.
This tastes. Sweat is your body crying. Is that the saying?
Is it? Oh, I don't know. But then again, that's so sad. Who wants to cry?
Or no, it's your fat cells crying. I think that's.
Oh, yeah, mine are crying.
The Casatica di Bufala is made by a producer who makes like 25 other buffalo milk cheeses, but we've only seen a couple here in the States. Like I said, most of them are mozzarellas, and buffalo also produce very little milk. And but because it's high in fat, they get a way better yield of cheese, so they get more cheese. This one I would highly recommend eating the rind. I ate the rind and it was good.
It's almost raw bread like, not raw bread. Bread like to me. This is bready to me. I just like the texture. It's creamy to me, where that other one is so rich and decadent. This one though, I just get more layers of flavor. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and it's like it has like a very lactic flavor, which is just like milky is the way to describe it. I don't know how else to describe it, but it tastes milky and just creamy and just rich on my palate, especially. Yeah, like the mouthfeel is very rich. It is,
and it's still coating again the tongue, which is great then to take the bubbles after it, because then it just kind of cleanses the tongue.
Yeah, and what's interesting about this, it's also considered a Stracchino style of cheese. And I don't know if we've ever talked about that, but Stracchino is it's a very general sort of style, and the word Stracchino means that the milk comes from tired cows, and there's a lot of different types of cheeses that are considered Stracchino, but they're all from this region or a couple regions in northern Italy, Piedmont and Lombardy, and tired cows because the cows march down from the Alps, and they're right there in northern Italy, and they're tired from the march, and they give you this really, for whatever reason, very rich milk. They're kind of dehydrated, actually.
And that makes sense, right? When you're dehydrated, it's more concentrated. Everything's more concentrated. So interesting with the tired milk. So Stracchino style, but with the buffalo.
And so there are some other cheeses that are from this area that I'm sure a lot of you have heard of are Gorgonzola. Mascarpone is from up there. A lot of Robiolas are from there, and all of those are Stracchino style cheeses.
Okay.
So it gets a little tricky because sometimes people will come in and they'll say, "Hey, do you have a Stracchino cheese?" And if you've been there, sometimes you'll see something just called Stracchino, but it could be any of those styles.
Yeah, true.
So
there's a soft cheese called Stracchino. It's almost burrata-like.
Yeah.
Stretched, milky, but it's a Stracchino. Probably just the tired milk.
Exactly. So it doesn't give a ton of information about what cheese it's going to be. It's so that's a hard one to figure out sometimes.
But it's good. Okay, and Kristen, thank you. I agree. Our favorite thing we talk about that our favorite herb on the cheese plate is rosemary. And Kristen, yes, I just tried it myself. Try the Casatica di Bufala with the rosemary. I'm gonna not say it wrong. So good with rosemary, everybody. And personally, I just did that whole bite with the ginger, my little ginger cocktail, my mule. Amazing. I mean, that to me was heaven. Now I'm doing it with just the straight up cava.
Delish. Wow, I really like the Kassatika.
It's so good. You did. Yeah. You did. And does this count as greens for the day if I eat that frond?
This is the green.
That's the green for the day. Excellent.
All right. So no, that's fun. So we have the Kassatika, the Kunik, and now we've covered goat, cow, buffalo, and the only thing left is sheep.
Sheep. Do you think we have a sheep on the plate, Rob?
So the next one, Pyrenees Brebby. Who speaks French? So Pyrenees is where it comes from. It's actually from the Basque region, and it is made with 100% sheep's milk, and the word Brebby means sheep.
Sheep. And it is super sweaty.
Yeah. And so this is so classic for a Basque cheese.
Yeah. They so many of them look like this. Maybe made of different milks. Of course, made from different producers. But so very similar. And then they all have this just beautiful natural rind on the outside. Again, which I love. And to answer your question about the rinds, everybody, without fail, of course, yes, delicious.
And you can eat the rind on this one too. I just did. So crusty, pretty salty. I don't know if you
very
noticed
salty.
that.
This is the saltiest yet of them all. So how does the salt go with my straight up Casa de Valor?
It's really rich and really creamy. Like flavor wise, it's very creamy and rich.
And again, because it's rich, the bubbles help. The bubbles also tame the salt. But I love salt, so I'm not complaining about the salt. This will scream for something sweet on the plate. So I think try it with either the berry or the jam or that. Because that kiwi, that candied dried kiwi is sweet, right?
I want to try it with this jam. And
super good.
So think about some of the really classic things that you see paired with champagne. Caviar. What are some of the other ones?
Oh yeah.
Like really
creamy things? Creme brulee. I mean, you do all of that. What else are you thinking? Or am I missing something?
No, I was thinking caviar. Oh, well, like oysters, right?
Oh, oysters for sure. You're making me hungry. That's because of the salt.
Truffly thing. I'm thinking salt.
Yeah, for sure. The super truffly.
Like
briny things. Oh yeah, super good with the bubbles as well. Olives, yes. Good.
Let me finish chewing. That's delish. So the word Brebby means sheep. The Basque region is, of course, in Spain and France. This is from southern France. It is so it's known for mostly sheep's milk cheeses, but there are some goat's milk cheeses from there as well. It's a kind of a family of cheeses, and a lot of them are very similar. They look like this. They are about this texture. This is a few months old, and they always have these natural rinds on them.
Yeah. When we say natural, I mean, it really is just the dried up exterior skin of the cheese. And sometimes it's brushed maybe just with salt. Sometimes brushed with olive oil. Sometimes just let to sit there and kind of dry out. But I think the flavor of those are so good.
Well, they make, you know, in this part of the country, they'll make cidres or ciders, and so a lot of times that's what they'll wash them in. There's a really famous wine region that's not too far away called Bordeaux. And so, have we done Bordeaux yet on this? Did we? So Bordeaux is pretty close by. So there is some incredible winemaking happening in the region, but really. You know, it's also just like we talked about with the cheeses from Spain. It's a region where cows are just not exactly super comfortable, and so it's mostly sheep and goat's milk.
Mostly sheep and goat. Yeah. I have a question about cutting utensils. Our friend Carol. Be right back.
Are you gonna do some show and tell?
Yeah.
Well, Gina's probably grabbing a knife. I don't know what the question is, but. We have several different types of knife, some with holes in it, some with little, you know, additions to the end of them for different types of cheeses and texture, mostly texture.
Mostly for texture. So, Carol, this is a great question. Actually, we should do a cutting. We've talked about this. It's on the list, but we just haven't got to it because we're having too much fun just having wine. But let me go through kind of the 3 major different styles of knives for the cheeses. We're going to start because we started with the soft cheese. Whenever you see the hole in the blades, these are for the soft cheeses. And the idea is because when you cut through the cheese, because there's the holes, the knife won't stick to the cheese on the way down when you cut it. So whenever you see a knife that has the holes, that's typically made for your soft cheeses, like the one that we had, the Kunik. Might use it for that. This one also has a dual purpose because it has this rounded tip with like the little spear on the end. That means that once you've cut your cheese, that little tip is there for you to go like this, is the idea to have it. That's a little harder with the soft cheeses, so it's interesting that they have it on this one. But
I think you can also use that tip if you want to chunk them out, like we sometimes do for presentation.
Yeah, and if you just kind of want to, like an ice pick. Yeah. Although better for an ice pick is let's just jump to the ultra hard cheese knife. So this is like for a Parmigiano Reggiano or something, or your real hard cheese, a Manchego. And if you want to get a texture like a piece of rock candy or something, you might use this to chisel a piece like that and just really carve into a hard piece of cheese. So these are kind of made for that. And then you have something kind of called the universal cheese knife. And it comes in all sizes. This is a smaller version of it, but again, it has that curved tip on the end so that you can pick up, you know, whatever you have just cut. And it just has a narrow, very narrow, fine, thin blade. This one is the one you want in your picnic basket. If you're gonna have one knife to take around, this one does it all. This is called the universal cheese knife.
And it's funny, everyone is different, and people are very like personal when it comes to their knives. So like, find whatever works for you. I mean, if you have a certain like, I don't know, maybe you have a certain like way that you sort of move with a knife where one knife will work better for you than others. Like, you know, I can kind of do everything with this knife.
Yeah, exactly.
We have in the shop we have a little knife that's really sharp. Do you know the one I'm talking about? It's almost like looks like a paring knife kind of. And I use it for almost everything.
I think I know what you're saying. Yeah.
But it's a little one. I don't know. I like the feel of like just a little, you know, knife in my hand. Yeah, just like that.
I like it.
Like Zorro.
Like Zorro. Mini Zorro.
Or Mini Zorro.
Mini Zorro. But, and in relation to cutting, but this is a very good point. We ate the Brie, but Kunik, like the Kunik that you had, comes in a wheel that's about, you know, this size. It's maybe 4 or 5 inches in diameter.
9 ounces.
Yeah, and what you want to do when you cut, you always, no matter what the size, or if it's a 20-pound wheel, like the Pyrenees, the Brebby, that's about an 8 or 10-pound wheel. You cut the wedge, and you always want to cut where you give a piece of the rind. So we will do a whole cutting episode and how to cut different ones, but you want a bit of the rind. So even on a Brie, when you're cutting it, you know, everybody tends to cut the nose, which is the very skinny tip, and work their way back, and then the only thing that's left is the butt, you know, kind of the back end. But truly you want to cut so that you get a little bit of that, so you get every flavor of that piece of cheese in one bite.
You want to evenly distribute the rind.
Yeah, that's it. That's a good way to put it.
So like
we have good words.
we even have diagrams. I don't know if we still have them up in the shop, do we? Where you come in and you can kind of see how to do that, because like if you don't evenly distribute it, if you start from the nose and you keep going back, then at the end somebody's left with just a rind, like a sad rind.
A sad rind, and you want a little bit of everything.
You want a little bit of everything because especially on some of these softer cheeses, these soft ripened cheeses, you'll get 3 or 4 even really distinct textures. You get the rind, you get the kind of riper, gooier part right under the rind, and then it'll be, if it's not fully ripe, it'll be kind of chalky and firm in the center. Yeah. So you want all of that, but you want to evenly distribute it.
For sure. And then Kristen, you had asked where you can get the knives. And the Del Mar shop, of our shops, they have the most selection of knives, where they have all of these styles pretty much always available. I also love to get them at Boska. We get a lot of them from Holland. It's a company called Boska, Boska, and you can jump online there too and kind of really see all the different styles of knives, and you can order from them as well. So if there's something specific that's missing in your knife collection, I would recommend that as well.
And if you want some fancy stuff, you can find it. They make some of the fancier stuff that we carry, like the raclette kits and the fondue kits and things like that.
Fondue kits, some of the very fancy planers with cool handles. Yeah. If your kitchen, you have marble things and you want marble, whatever. They have stainless, they have wood, rustic wood, black, all sorts of choices. So, Carol asked if all cheeses are on wheels.
No.
Did we touch on this? Or
actually,
we should touch on it again. Yeah.
Well, so the Casatica di Bufala comes in like a loaf, basically. Like, how would you call it?
That one's a loaf. Like a log, a squished log. So it's not a round log, but a squished log. So which I guess would be a loaf.
But some of them come in squares. Pont l'Evêque, for example, Taleggio, for example, comes like in a square. Most of them come in wheels, and like Alpine cheeses come in huge wheels. 200-pound wheels sometimes. Most of what we see, like most cheesemakers, I think when you just buy the form from the online, cheese making supply companies, they have like a 5-pound.
That's the most classic style.
10-pound, so there are a lot of them that are just kind of within that range. Why are cheeses in wheels?
Yes, we talked a little bit about it in the Brie class, and here's why. Wheels, it's the most uniform way to age on the edges. When you have the squares, it's not equidistant from all areas. So the diameter is always the same. It's aging equally when it's a circle. When it's a square, it's a little tougher. It's hard. These corners are further away from the center, so the aging becomes more difficult. Traditionally, it was made in the round shape. And they also it was easier to transport wheels. You could literally roll them. And they would do that. So there's a combination of factors.
In the Alps, they can just roll it down to the village below them. Is that true?
We need to do that. We're going to do that on the Alps tour. Let's have a real rolling cheese class. Well, what about the thing in Ireland or England that they do that?
That's in the Cotswolds, I think, where the people roll. I think they get really drunk first and then they roll down.
Imagine this, everybody. Drunk people, top of the hill, and they roll a big wheel of cheese. And this is looking at them; they're looking like the 10 to 15 pound wheels of cheese. Roll them down the hill, and whoever catches the cheese gets to keep the cheese.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a competition. Yeah, I don't think there's a medal or a prize. I think it's just.
I would rather have the cheese than a stupid medal.
I would too. But could you imagine we couldn't do that competition here? But I would love it. It would be so good.
So you made me think when you were talking about kind of the uniform nature of wheels and how it makes more sense for the aging process. And there are guys who specialize in aging cheese, and so they go in there and they have to flip wheels to kind of evenly distribute it so that the whey doesn't all drain to the bottom. And so they're looking at cheeses, and in some places they even have machines that do it. Like in Parma, they have robots that go through the aisles and they flip the cheeses every couple of days. The same guys will come in if it's people doing it, and they'll brush the cheeses and they'll look for any kind of growth or whatever, and they'll scrub them down, and it gives it that natural kind of crusty look on the rind. So there's a lot of stuff that happens. And another thing that people ask a lot is if I get a quarter pound half pound or whatever, if I have a piece of cheese, how long will it last? When we ship cheeses for our tasting events, we the smallest we can really ship is a quarter pound. And a quarter pound, I mean, if you have 4 quarter pounds of cheese, that's a pound of cheese.
That's a lot of cheese.
You can't eat that really in once. Maybe you can.
I
can. So people always go, well, what can I do with what with what's left of this quarter pound? How long do I have to eat it? Of course, it differs between hard cheese and soft cheese. Soft cheese, you got to eat it first. But because there is now more surface area exposed because it's been cut, it's going to die faster.
Sad.
I know. But like if you had a pound or like a 5-pound wedge of cheese, it's going to last longer because there's less surface area exposed. If that makes sense.
It does make sense.
So it all kind of ties into what you're saying about aging. And
it's fascinating. That's why,
shapes.
because some people, I think if you had a 5-pound wedge of Parmigiano in your fridge, that would last longer or not dry up as fast as that little quarter pound in your fridge. Because it'll dry up and there's not much, as it dries from the outside in, it's going to make the middle and it's going to completely dry up. 5 pounds, it's going to take a lot longer to dry up.
And you'll get crusty.
So
It'll get crusty on the outside of it, but you just clean it off. Like if you have a planer, that's good for that.
Yes.
Or you just take a knife and you just go whoosh. You just kind of like scrape the side of it and it's fine. If you see green or blue, just scrape it off.
It's an old wives' tale that can you eat the moldy cheese? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Cheese is not mayonnaise and cheese is not Chinese food. It can sit in there and get moldy, and you know what? Underneath, it's completely fine.
Well, but Chinese food is always better a little bit aged, in my opinion.
No, it is not better aged. Nor is mayonnaise, Rob. We're going to have
mayonnaise.
words.
I can't even.
You don't eat mayonnaise anyway?
I can't even look at mayonnaise.
What? You never
it's
could?
Disgusting.
It's yummy. It's eggs and olive oil. I mean, it's yummy.
Eggs are fine, olive oil is fine, but mayonnaise
not together.
Not together. Okay, sorry. Can't do it. That's one of the few things I can't.
Not going to happen. Okay, well now we know.
Although I have to say, when you're in Europe and they do French fries, they always give you mayonnaise. And like
that's a choice of the packets there.
Yeah, I know.
You know, in like McDonald's.
But I guess I go for it when I'm having French fries.
It's yummy there. Did you try that? It's good.
I do. Yeah.
The Belgian fries with the mayonnaise on it.
Exactly.
Super yummy.
And you know what? On that note, that is a Belgian. Like when you're in different cities in Belgium, there's like fry stands everywhere.
Yes.
Why don't we have that here? Like someone needs to get on that.
Everyone loves fries, so why aren't there fry stands?
Fry stands. You just get fries.
Yes.
I know. With like you can pick your flavor, and it can just be mayonnaise, a couple others. But yeah, it works there. I mean, and maybe we need to bring like taco shops there.
Fries here, tacos there.
I don't know.
We're crossing worlds. I love it.
Just a thought.
Just a thought.
All right, we need to get to the next one.
Yes, the next one, because I have not had this for a year at least. Yeah.
Well, and this cheese's life started about a year ago, because this cheese typically gets aged about a year, sometimes longer. But this is called Triple Play, and it is a cheddar. Nice. Cheddar. It is
from Wisconsin.
From Hook's Farm, and they are in a little town called Mineral Point, Wisconsin.
And when we say little, Rob,
it's like there's like a general store and like this cheese maker.
I think the front end of our bus got out of the town before the back end made it into town.
Yeah, we visited them a few years ago, and I remember even like the sign. Remember the sign was just, it was great. Like it was in a good way, but it was like it was like an older sign, and it told me everything about them. It was just an old school sort of vibe. And they kind of did things their way, and they actually do the
Nothing
farmers
fancy
market.
and modern about it.
They do the farmers market every Saturday in Madison. So they drive into town. They sell their cheeses. The owners there.
Nancy and Tony, right?
Tony, is it Nancy? Tony Hook is I can't remember her name. But
yes, is the main cheesemaker is Tony.
And but they're great. They make a lot of blue cheeses and cheddars. This is one of their cheddars. Unique because it is a blend. Again, another blend. This is goat, sheep, and cow's milk all together.
Oh, is that the name Triple Play?
Well, and I'm guessing that they are baseball fans.
Could be.
Because Triple Play, they have another cheese that's a baseball reference, so I wonder if they're Brewers fans.
Could be.
Who knows?
Could be. But this is delicious. This is cheddar style, and a lot of people agree, loving this cheese. Rob, this is so good. I have not had this for so long, and why?
Sweet.
We should have more. It is sweet. I love that. We had the very salty, when we went to the very salty Pyrenees Brebby, and now we're to this sweet, sweet cheddar. I love it, and I love the texture. It has a little grittiness to it.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
And this is so distinctly cheddar. I mean, when you taste this, it is. There's
it
no doubt.
Cheddar.
There's no doubt.
Mm-hmm. And what makes a cheddar, Robbie G? Part of the process, yes?
Mm-hmm. It has to do with the make process. So when they make cheddars, they do something called cheddaring, and that's where they start by forming the curds in the whey. The curd is the solid, and they'll cut the curd into little pieces that kind of look like popcorn.
Yeah, it really is little pieces.
So anytime you've ever heard someone talk about cheese curds, every type of cheese is made with curd, but when people talk about eating curds straight up, they're referring to cheddar curds.
Yeah,
just so you know.
It is, yes. So curds are baby cheddars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're baby cheddar.
Young cheddars.
So once you get the curd formed, then they will salt. They'll salt the curd, and actually, let me back up. Before any of that, they will they'll cut the curd into a bunch of little pieces, and then they stack them and like push them into like these rectangles, and they have these huge rectangular curds which are really, really heavy, and they stack them on top of each other. I don't know, 4, 5, 6 high.
Yeah.
And this process somehow makes this cheese very acidic and tangy. It's what makes it taste like a cheddar. It has to do with the acid level.
Yeah, somehow it brings out the acid in the cheese, and that's just some scientific...
Yeah, it was probably done just like trial and error for the longest time, and they said, if they didn't know how or what the science behind it was, but if they did it this way, it came out tasting this way, and it was delicious.
Delicious.
And so basically the curd on top, the top slab, drains into the curds below it.
And it sews together. They call it sewing, right?
Yeah.
The curd, because they're pressed on each other, but then they kind of meld together and they're sewn together.
They get sewn together, and then after they do that process of making it kind of like acidified, I guess, they will then put it through a mill, which turns it back into curd.
Into the curd shape that everyone, if you know curds, is a curd shape.
So then it comes out looking like this popcorn, and then they just take these huge handfuls of salt and just throw it into the curd. Lots of salt. And if it were going to be a full cheese, if we were going to come to term, that they would take all those curds and press them together into a form. Sometimes it's like a cylinder form, sometimes it's a big block. And then they put it into a form, and then they put it up in the shelf in the cave or the aging room to then age for, it could be a year. Like this one, it could be 10 years. So they have cheeses that are 20 years old. When we went and visited them,
20 years old.
They had other cheeses that were even
almost
older.
As old as me.
But they have like cheeses. They're ones that they're just kind of playing with in the back of the cave. Okay. Which, remember their cave?
Again, this is a rustic operation, but it's so beautiful how cheese can be made.
Yeah.
Tell them about the cave, Robin. I will tell them too. Well, what was your recollection?
It was not so much a cave as like it was like a fridge. I don't remember what the temperature was.
Yeah, it was a cold warehouse.
But it was they had things like wrapped in like a cryovac, and it was stacked. There was stuff stacked everywhere, super high,
and like Sharpie.
And so exactly
made on this day.
So one of the guys who gave us the tour, he basically just climbed on top of some cheese and found some cheese up on the top of the fridge cave thing, and he like looked at it and he's like, oh, this is 10 years old. Okay, I'll just put it back over here, and he just was like grabbing things and telling us what it was. But I was going to say so for cheddars, they'll push all the curds together, either in a block form, a rectangle, or a cylinder, and they'll age it. But for curds, after they salt it, they just put those curds loosely into a bucket and they sell it as cheese curds. And when they're really young, like a day or two, they're squeaky. Squeaky
curds are best, everybody. You can get fresh curds now in town. The only place that truly makes and sells fresh curds is Alesmith, the brewery, and their brewery is up in Miramar area.
Yeah.
And they make curds, and I hope I don't misspeak. He was making them so that they are fresh every Wednesday. And you can only get them there at Alesmith if you go to their tasting room, and you can buy a bag of curds while you're sitting there enjoying some Alesmith beers. So it's very cool. to do that. Curds are best fresh. I mean, we have tried. Everybody asks, when can we get curds? Can we get curds? We've had some number of good ones from Wisconsin, from Oregon, from Washington, from Utah. But they just lose their squeakiness and freshness every day. It's like a mozzarella from Italy. They're better when they're the freshest.
It's a tricky thing because typically when we order from somewhere, in order to make it worth it for the people shipping them to us, you have to order a certain amount. And which also means, like, for curds, it means we have to, like, somehow be able to sell a certain amount in, like, half a day.
Yes, that's
and it's really
fast.
tricky.
Remember we were going to do curd Thursdays.
Thursdays?
Thursdays. I don't know. I can't even say. But excellent question. So, Carol, does it get stronger as it ages? Cheddars and stuff?
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Mm-hmm. This hooks, you said, is about 14 months?
Yeah, it's probably a little over a year.
Yeah. So we have, and you're going to have to come in, Carol, and try it. We've had various ages of hooks cheddars, from 5 years, like Rob said, all the way up to a 20-year. And you get to the 20-year one, and the little square, like you have this much of it, a little hunk, a little nugget, and it is so sharp, and that's all you need. Wow. Which leads us, though, to the question that our friend Kristen asks, are older cheeses more expensive, just like wines? And the answer is absolutely yes. And I equate it to, they had to keep this cheese in a cheese hotel for 20 years. Well, we have to pay for the lodging at that hotel, right? The raw ingredients are the same from a 1 year to that 20-year one, but it needed care for those 20 years. So yes, they are very much more expensive when they're older. Mm-hmm.
The 20-year cheddar, I want to say it's like $80 a pound, maybe more.
It's crazy. The 20-year might have been about 80. Can you imagine? And like I said, you only need a teeny bite. It's like caviar. When you get the true sturgeon, caviar, you only need a couple bites, but it is very expensive because it's hard to get. It's elusive.
You pay for storage. I mean, they pretty much pass on every cost to them. They pass it on, and we end up paying for it. It's just the nature of the business.
Experience. Yeah, it's for the experience.
If you ever wonder why costs continue to go up, it's because the cost of the cheesemaker continues to go up. Then they have to put it on a truck, which comes here, and the gas prices go up. It all goes into the price of the cheese.
Yes,
and
why is cheese so expensive? Yeah. And the fact that it takes so much milk to make a little amount of cheese.
And that's, it's interesting. Yeah. That is why a lot of people make cheese, is because they're trying to up the value of their milk.
The milk, yeah.
And that's, it requires a lot of work. It's not easy.
No. Cheesemakers are all in it for the love of cheese making. You don't see cheesemakers driving around in Ferraris. You don't. I mean, it's just because the nature of cheese is expensive. It's all for the joy of the product more than anything.
Yeah.
Here's one for you, Rob. Little Miss Muffet sat on a tuffet, eating her curds and whey. What is a tuffet?
Oh, that's a great question.
I posed the question and I got an answer from Carol.
I
didn't know. I pictured it. I'll tell you what I thought it was.
A tuffet. Mm-hmm. Is it like a tree stump or something?
See, tree stump. I thought it was like a pillow for some reason.
A tuffet.
It is a footstool with no feet. So is that like a pillow?
Or a tree stump. I mean, look, if the stool is made of wood, then I can argue that it was a tree stump.
You could argue because it has no feet. Neither does a pillow.
A tuffet.
Sat on the tuffet.
That is great.
Yeah. And yes, Carol, thank you to the cheesemakers. There's a book, you guys, and I seriously, blessed are the cheesemakers. Rob, you know what's on my I have a dream wall list. I have a little pictures of things I want to do someday. The total dream is to turn Blessed Are the Cheesemakers, which is a book, into a screenplay and then go to the Oscars.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. What do you think?
Yeah, I have...
Will you help?
Yes, I totally would. That's where I see... When I look like 10 years down the road, I'm like, what's going to be next? What's going to be next? Because we've been really lucky, and we've also worked really hard to make certain things that we dreamt actually happen. Yeah. Like some of these trips and stuff, and I do think about writing, and hopefully one day when I have a little baby at home too, so I don't have a lot of time.
Remember, you're married and have
and a wife, but someday I would like to write and do some kind of cheesemonger chronicles or memoirs, just of everything that we experience, and we see.
It's the joy, and it's all joyous.
Yeah.
That's what's the beauty to me of cheese, and that's again, what are we? We're selling. This is just joy,
and for how cool
pleasure
it is. Like as a customer coming in and seeing stuff, we're all like, we get to see a lot of behind the scenes, and it's not disappointing. I have to say, it's not disappointing when we meet a lot of these people. Like we see the distribution line, and we see the cheesemaker.
Everyone loves it.
There's a lot of just passion behind it, and then that combined with like the history and geography that I'm obviously very interested in, and I love to share and to talk about. There's a lot. It's just never dry. It's never dull. It's never boring.
It's so good.
And
there's always a story.
There's always a story, and that's and that's important.
And to me, Rob, it's all about pleasure and joy. Like it's good. It makes you feel good. It is the ultimate comfort food. I mean, is there something more comforting?
Excuse me. And it's no.
It's just yummy, and it brings you to another place, to another part of the world. It's like I can picture those sheep grazing around up in that Basque region. Yum. I picture that water buffalo in Italy. I want to be there. Yeah. I mean, it just brings you somewhere in a little bite.
And it's like a lot of it is about connection. So we talk a lot about connection to other human beings, but like I think I mentioned this on the last one we did. It's also a connection to the land. That's what the whole slow food is about. And like a connection with your food is also a connection with the land and place and where it comes from. And it's cool to when it all comes full circle.
But isn't that cool? I mean, and I think we tend to forget when people come here, there's a connection here. And you can laugh all you want. People come here, land of hamburgers and stuff. We make good hamburgers, right? And that's very cool for people coming from somewhere else. Just as for me, going to India and getting to taste their food is a cool connection to them. When they come here, it's very cool and it's very fun for them to see. And we need to not forget that we have cool things, they have cool things, and we should all be like experiencing those cool things together.
When we have, occasionally, it hasn't happened for a couple years, but occasionally we'll have people in the industry that come to San Diego for various reasons. Sometimes it's a sales rep. It could be somebody who represents like a French cheesemaker. And what do they want to do when they come here? They want beer and burgers.
Burgers,
Tacos. Yes. And they want to go to the beach and just go to a taco truck and go to the beach. And
when you go to Belgium, you want fries.
And mayonnaise.
It's true.
And beer in Belgium.
That connection to that place, whatever that may be. Spain, you're going to get some cava. You want the cava.
Tapas.
All
that good stuff.
What about these Choco Higos? Are they Higos or are they cherries? Rob's going in. We're going to find out.
Cherry.
Okay. Can we tell you how good these chocolate covered cherries are?
It's like it's a white cherry.
It's so yum. We typically have Choco Higos, and Higos are figs. And they're from Spain, Valencia, Spain. These are chocolate-covered cherries, you guys, and they're so good. Are you gonna eat that before I do? Yeah, so good.
Is the cherry soaked in like a liqueur or something? Yeah. I can taste it.
These are like highfalutin. Do you remember Mon Chéri?
My cherry,
Anyway, in the pink wrapper, and then that was what I knew was a chocolate covered cherry. But wow, I would eat a bucket.
That's delish. That's good.
What else was I eating a bucket of? I'm eating buckets tonight.
We were talking about buckets of this drink you made.
Okay, I'm gonna pair the buckets with that cherry because with the cava, so good.
Well, I'm so excited I learned what a tuffet is tonight. So
no, we learned a tuffet, but we think you could call it a pillow or a tree stump. A pillow on a tree stump. Could that be a tuffet?
Sure, why not?
Eating her curds and whey. And curds and whey, honestly, is like cottage cheese. Cottage cheese is pretty much curds and whey. I
have like a Mother Goose book because I bought it for my daughter. I was going to read the nursery rhymes to her. And
sure, you brought it for her.
Well... No, they're so like full of these archaic words that nobody uses anymore. I'm like, I can't even understand what these nursery rhymes are saying.
Like, Dad, what is this? You're like, I don't know.
Let me get my dictionary.com
You gotta
to
Google
read this
that.
to you. Yeah. Like, I don't even
I don't know what
understand.
that is.
Oh boy.
But it's all good. No, super. God, what else can we say? Cava goes with everything. This one was too easy. I can't decide my favorite actually tonight with the Cava.
Ooh,
What
yeah.
was the second one? It might have been for me, the Bufala. But again, they all went. None of them made me go, ooh. They were all great.
I think my favorite was the Casatica di Bufala.
Yeah,
which
me too.
We don't always pick the same one, but it's
no.
interesting.
That is interesting. And normally, sometimes that cheese on its own is just okay to me. Today, it was spectacular. So it depends on the day. It depends on the mood.
I really like the rind. I mean, I thought the rind, in this case, sometimes the rind you just kind of tolerate it. In this case, I was like looking forward to it. I really liked it. It just really, I liked the texture. It kind of gave that that chewy, snacky.
Yes, chewy is a good word. You know what you could do with the French do? The fromage fort. It's spelled like forte, fromage forte, but fromage fort. You just blend, Rob, all the rinds and bits, leftovers together. It's almost like non-melted fondue.
Yeah.
And a little bit of garlic and white wine, and you've got yourself a little cheese spread. So never, ever, 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 ever waste any bit of cheese. Is what I guess what we're saying.
There's always a use.
There's always a use for this beautiful food, and we are biased, but not because it's so delicious. Carol's favorite were Kunik and the Cava. Kunik and the Cava, delish. I mean that you cannot go wrong with the jam, delish. With the rosemary, delish.
I've got more of this Kunik, so I'm gonna try the rest of it.
I ate my whole one. Sad. Anyway, what's next, Rob? I can tell you what's next.
Yeah, tell me.
Want to hear what's next? Next is Carmenere.
Ooh, I don't know anything about that.
We are going to Chile.
Fun.
Which is South America. And we are going there on May 19th, and it's Carmenere. It's a red wine varietal. I can't wait for this because this one we have, Laura Hartwig, delicious. And I can't wait for that one. So that one's coming up on the 19th.
Cool.
We're doing cheese making, mozzarella.
That's right.
Speaking of mozzarella, this Sunday with Rodolfo, an Italian, your twin.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
I don't see it, but
no,
he's a lot younger than I am.
Oh, I thought you were the same. Just saying.
Thank you. That's very sweet. He's a young man. He's our new resident cheesemaker, and so he's going to be making fresh mozzarella from his make facility out in Escondido, I think. But he's going to be zooming in with us.
Going to zoom in, and just the joy of making mozzarella. And we all know mozzarella as the ball, that you put on pizza, put it on your salad, make a caprese, whatever. But he does little interesting things with the mozzarella and with the base cheese that makes mozzarella in the first place. He does a lot of interesting things, so it's very fun. I can't wait for
Me too. I'm excited for that.
But thank you all, as always. We've babbled on and on. We have so much comments. Thank you. Next time, Rob, you're opening the bottle. I'm going to shake it up.
Shake-a-doo.
Shake-a-doo. So on that note, good night, everyone. Au revoir. No.
Adios. Adios, amigos.